But my real issue is with countries like China and India, who are by far the worst polluters in the world. It's not actually the UK. And I don't see any of these heroic protesters getting on a plane to Beijing or to Moscow or to Mumbai. There's a moral cowardice about this.
OK, how about some facts on China? Because it comes up all of the time. What about China? The per capita carbon emissions of the people in China are tiny.
What percentage of the global pollution comes from China?
Bear in mind, it's 1.1 billion people making most of the world's stuff, including the stuff that we have here. So they are a big polluter, absolutely. Tell me.
No, you tell me. You're the expert.
I'm telling you, per capita, as an individual person, it's a tiny footprint. That's important.
Percentage of global pollution.
There are 8 billion... No.
You don't want to tell me, do you?
There are 8 billion people on this planet. I'm telling you I don't know. You should tell me. Right? I'm telling you I don't care. Per capita, it's tiny.
Care that China
and we should have a fair share of the carbon footprint globally.
Yeah, I say they produce more than a quarter of the world's pollution. And I don't see anyone from Greta Thunberg to you guys getting out there to Beijing and shouting at them or wrecking their sporting events. And we all know why.
Just for this exercise, let's give the politicians and academics a break. Let's assume that they are 100% correct and that greenhouse gas carbon emissions are completely responsible for climate change, and that no other factors like the sun or Earth's inner core or whatever have any impact whatsoever. Here's how they deceive the public in New Zealand. Firstly, everyone knows that China is by far the worst polluter in the world. And secondly, New Zealand is a clean green country compared to China. But in order to force a political agenda, you have to quickly change the cards by clever, sleight-of-hand deception. Most people fall for this trick. Politicians and academics use it regularly. I won't go into the math why comparing countries on a pollution per capita basis is often extremely misleading or inappropriate, but suffice to say, as the population decreases, the figures become less meaningful. Using the per capita measure, then the Falkland Islands, with a population of around 3,000 people, are one of the worst polluters in the world, and an island with just 1 cow and 0 people would be infinitely bad, far, far worse than China. In essence, you should forget the per capita measure when it comes to pollution. Total emissions by country is all that effectively matters. So beware politicians and academics when they quickly deceive with per capita pollution. But at first glance, although not meaningful, New Zealand does look just as bad as China on a per capita basis, even though New Zealand is clean green by total emissions comparison reality. That's because there is another, not so obvious trick up the politicians and professor academics' sleeve. Here it is. China is a developing country and New Zealand is not. So the correct measure is not per capita, but instead it should be per developed urban and rural capita. This would make the actual polluting population of China a lot smaller, making their true per capita pollution a much larger number and much larger than New Zealand's. In reality, China is much worse than New Zealand on a true per capita basis, because a lot of their population lives below the poverty line, like Vanuatu, and does not meaningfully contribute any greenhouse gas emissions. Clever sleight of hand political deception.